This question was probably one of the easiest questions on the entire paper, and it was so badly answered. I think maybe you were getting tired towards the end of the assessment, but honestly, it was really easy to get the marks on this one. So it was asking you to name an appropriate graph that could be used to display the means shown in the table above and suggest an appropriate X and Y axis. So it's the means of the word lists in the same in the different locations. So you've got 19.3 and you've got 14.6, so for same for different. Now, we did graphs and charts in class, and we went through when it was appropriate to use which graph and which one to use in experiments and correlations and all of those kind of things. And for an experiment, which this one is, you need to use a bar chart. And that's what you got the first mark for, where it says name of graph, bar chart. Now, the reason that you use a bar chart for experiments is because on a bar chart, you have two separate bars that aren't touching each other, and they indicate the different conditions in an experiment. I had a few people saying a histogram. Now, a histogram is for continuous data. It's not for discrete, separate data. So word list A and no, actual facts, ignore that. Oh no, yeah, that's right. Yeah, word list A and word list B, because they're on the recalling it in the same location, a different location. They are two different conditions. So being in the same location in different conditions, they're not continuous, they're not next to each other. So you can't suggest a histogram. And then nobody else put any kind of like other graphs and charts on. I think maybe one person did a line graph, but a line graph is to show change over time. There's no reference to that in this question. There's two conditions, so it's definitely not a line graph. And then the other thing that people were doing was just writing me a title, but the title was a graph to show rather than actually putting what the graph was. So even in titles, you write a bar chart to show. So if you'd have just put a bar chart to show and then finished off the title, I wouldn't have been that mean. If you'd said bar chart, I would have given it you. But you didn't say anything, you just said a graph to show. Well, you've not named a graph then, so you can't get a mark. So a lot of people lost a mark there. And then the other part of it was to, in fact, I'll just put that there, bar chart. So you just had to literally write bar chart. And then the other one wanted to know x-axis and y-axis. Now, if you think about a bar chart, if you were to, in your mind, picture a bar chart, most bar charts that you see are two bars on the x-axis. So if you think about this piece of research, what would the two bars be? They'd be the two conditions. So the x-axis would be same location and different location. That's all you've got to put for that one, because on the x-axis, so that x is always the bottom one, the way I remember that is a y-axis is the one that goes up like that, and a y has like a stick on the bottom of the letter, so it's stood up. So I kind of like think of it like that. I think some people think of x as the horizon as well, like the sun, you know, it comes up from the horizon. People have weird and wonderful ways to remember, you know, different way around. Choose yours. So if the x-axis then is the different kind of conditions, the different locations, then the y-axis can only be what's left, which is kind of what's being measured. So the mean, because that's what it asks you to kind of have a look at. So the mean, you can't obviously just put the mean, you've got to see what the mean's showing. So the mean average, number of words recalled out of 25. Although, is it out of 25? Oh, I don't know if that mark scheme's right or not. I wonder if it's saying 25, because on one of the previous questions it was asking about the 50 words in a list, wasn't it? But the actual original kind of experiment was out of 20 words, wasn't it? So if you'd put 20 or you put 25, I might have on your answer put 25 instead of 20, but either you can have. I think the mark scheme's wrong, to be honest. So that's all you have to put. So just a bar chart, the two different conditions on the x-axis and the mean, or the average number of words recalled on the y-axis. Now, if you think about this for like a question in the future, if it's an experiment, always put your conditions on the x-axis, always put them on the bottom. And for your y-axis, always put what the deviation is, what's kind of being measured, or if it tells you specifically to talk about the means, then that would be on the y-axis. So that's kind of what you need to do for that. There's quite a few people getting these the wrong way around. I mean, if you think about a bar chart, I mean, I suppose you do see them the other way around, but they're very rare. And I think maybe AQA think that maybe it should just be that way. So just maybe memorize that for when you do graphs in the future. This as well was a really good question because we did graphs and charts in class and you did it for homework and you handed it in and I marked it and I gave it you back and I put feedback on to show you where you hadn't operationalized the axes. So I was expecting you to look at that and edit that and put that on and learn from those mistakes. I think a lot of you didn't maybe look at that feedback, or maybe you've looked at it but then not learned from those mistakes because you made the exact same mistakes on this question. So instead of them getting you to draw a graph, they've just asked you what the different parts of it are, which they would have asked if you were drawing the graph. So this is the same skill and you haven't learned from the last time that we did it. So you need to put some revision into these so that you make sure that you do operationalize these axes, because it is really crucial. And they do ask you either by asking you to draw a graph and label it, or just simply asking you to do these sections here like this. So you do need to look over those again.